This video is about the trap of the ego. Now, this is not a video, I want to put out as a disclaimer up front, but this is not a video attacking the ego. Cultivating a healthy ego is a very important step in the spiritual process. We can get caught up with the idea that the ego must be done away with, that we must eliminate the ego. And this is not healthy. The reason we fall into this idea is because society is structured in such a way where most people have an overdeveloped ego. Their ego is usually much larger than their soul. And what I mean by this is they have neglected the soul in favor of the ego. And this is what this video specifically is about. It is about the trap of the ego and how it is so enticing and how everything in society is set up in a way to motivate us to feed the ego and build the ego up. And I want to circle back to the start of this video where I said most people think that it is important to eliminate the ego altogether. The truth is that this cannot be done. Attempting to do so will lead to frustration, and it will lead to more challenges. Instead, what I advocate for is a healthy balance between ego and soul, reaching an equilibrium or sweet spot where both parts of ourselves are kept in balance and operate synchronistically or synergistically. This is what I have found to be the most healthy approach in navigating life, which is full of challenges and full of difficult circumstances. So, to get back to the main point of this video, it is speaking about the ego trap. And this is something that we all face as members of society. Society is set up in such a way where we are constantly rewarded materially, financially specifically, for propping up the ego. And we can fall into this trap where we see that we are gaining all of these external rewards, physical rewards, for making the ego bigger and bigger. And this can be very alluring and very enticing because we see this as success. We consider this success by most people's standards. If we have large sums of money, we are deemed successful. If we have a big house, we are deemed successful. But we must take a more nuanced approach to success and redefine it, because it can't only be defined in physical terms. We must also consider how did we gain that success? Did we compromise part of ourselves in order to gain that success? And this is the crutch or the crux of this video. This is what I really want to focus in on is, okay, we have this success in quotation marks, but how did we get the success? Because for a lot of people, we had to compromise our soul or neglect very valid parts of ourselves, suppress valid parts of ourselves in order to reach that success. And so this is what burnout is all about. This is what depression is all about. This is what our mental health epidemic is all about. It is about people feeling unfulfilled internally because there's something missing. They can't quite put their finger on it, but they know that something's missing in their life, even if it appears picture perfect. And this is oftentimes a symptom of an overinflated ego, or somebody who has fallen into the ego trap, which is, okay, so I have fed the ego, I have done everything that is considered correct or considered the path to success. I've followed the steps, I've listened to all of the advice, but here I am feeling burnt out, tired, unfulfilled, and stuck. Why is that? Well, you probably neglected your soul. You probably neglected aspects of yourself that are very valid parts of yourself. And these parts of yourself never go away. They are as much a part of you as your ego is a part of you. And oftentimes in childhood, as we are being raised, during development, we suppress these aspects in order to survive because of, scarcity mindsets, or the way that we were raised required us to present ourselves in such a way that was socially acceptable and would lead to society's definition or our parents' expectation of what success is. So we neglected and suppressed these aspects of ourselves, which are part of our soul. It's our soul identity. And we became more led by the mind or the ego. We became ego-oriented. And this is why people find themselves in really unfulfilling situations in midlife. This is what midlife crisis is all about. It's about realizing this and reorienting your life in a way that actually honors the ego just as much as you honor the soul. So when I say soul, what am I referring to here? It is these intrinsic aspects of you that are perhaps oftentimes not socially acceptable. These parts of you that people judge you for, or ostracize you for, or isolate you for. They tend to, when you present, or when you show these aspects of yourself, they are quick to shut you down. They are quick to point a finger at you, maybe laugh, maybe ignore you, make you feel like you're wrong, make you feel like you did something wrong. And that's why we shut this part of ourself off. But this part of ourself, it needs expression. It needs to be expressed. And we have to make room for that in our life. We have to make room to express those aspects of ourself that are oftentimes not socially acceptable, but which we have an inclination towards. So, that is what I advocate for. It is this coming together of ego and soul, and it's this merging where we are honoring both aspects. And of course, there's always going to be a sliding scale of how far we are on one side. Are we closer to being soul-led or ego-led? And we can sort of look at various behaviors that we display, and we can tweak them to move that sliding scale if we find that we're off balance. And oftentimes this is going to look like making decisions that are maybe not on the outside the most financially desirable. Okay, so people will often judge you for choices that you're making if they are more soul-led, because oftentimes they are not going to be as financially desirable. You're often going to take a loss up front for making these decisions, and so they're often discouraged. But if it leads to the fulfillment of your soul, then perhaps it's a good idea. Perhaps despite these what is perceived as this disadvantage is actually an advantage for you. So we have to be very honest with ourselves and very aware that what other people think about these choices is really none of our business. We can consider them, but at the end of the day, that is their experience, and they are projecting their experience onto your experience, and perhaps their experience is vastly different than your experience. In which case, you have the autonomy and the sovereignty to make the other choice, should you wish. And so this life is all about this balancing act where we're navigating a world that rewards us for the ego, expressing the ego, living in the mind, but it catches up to us because it leads to the death of the soul. So we have to be very cognizant of this and navigate life in a way where we honor both sides. Okay, maybe we're not always perfect, but it will lead to much more fulfilling situations where we are not entirely shutting out one side of ourselves in order to get ahead. So that's the trap of the ego. I hope this video helped you in navigating this complex topic. If you feel inclined, please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel for more content. Bye.